You just expected there'll be some funny stuff we can watch on TV tonight. Well, guess what? Where is it? This is the result of the extreme left and PC crap and people worrying so much about offending other people. When you write a script and it goes into 4 or 5 different hands, committees, groups, here's our thought about this joke, well, that's the end of your comedy.
As Hollywood pushes more and more to sanitize comedy, stripping it not only of humor, but of truth too, billionaire comedian Jerry Seinfeld will be damned if he lets the far left destroy the institution he built. Seinfeld accrued most of his wealth in the 90s, back when it wasn't illegal to make a simple joke. Now though, the media landscape is virtually unrecognizable, and DEI initiatives seem to make it worse day after day after day. But with his latest controversial project, Seinfeld is finally putting his foot down on all that nonsense. And this has elicited some pretty strong reactions from both sides.
I have noticed that most of the guests are mostly white males of 22 episodes.
Yeah,
that you've
let's
had.
get into that.
No, but you
Take a look over here, Peter. What do you see? A lot of whiteys. What's going on here? Oh, this really pisses me off. But
Well,
go
no,
ahead.
no,
Really pisses me off. People think it's the census or something. I mean, this has got to represent the actual pie chart of America. Who cares? It's just funny. You know, funny is the world that I live in.
Now, Seinfeld isn't just another bored comedian who's using critiques of woke culture for some attention. Rather, he has been true to the cause right from the movement's inception. As far back as 2015, he proclaimed that he had stopped performing on college campuses for fear that all these sensitive students would label his material as racist or sexist. This was before the term cancel culture had even really entered the public lexicon. Looking around the industry he had dominated for decades, Seinfeld could see changes that disturbed him. All of a sudden, the jokes that had helped him build his career were deemed politically incorrect. Comedy, which is meant to be an arena where everyone is fair game, was suddenly being vetted for all kinds of silly criteria. And so, Seinfeld began to speak up, not for profit, but out of genuine concern. Predictably, the moment he started with this, certain people on the left implored him to shut up. After lining his pockets with millions, they were wondering why he couldn't stick to the script. Sure, Seinfeld was aware that his public image as a beloved comedian would be destroyed, and he would now be tagged as a Hollywood troublemaker. But as a self-proclaimed hater, the establishment sure wasn't going to escape the worst of his critiques.
I am a very happy person, hating everything throughout my entire life.
Seinfeld's efforts to desanitize comedy have culminated in his first directorial effort, an upcoming comedy about Pop-Tarts called Unfrosted. While the world is yet to see the movie, the comedic genius has wasted no time in using the press tour to further his agenda. Rather than wasting his time talking about nice, silly things like where he gets his ideas, Seinfeld has used his increased profile to double down on his views. After an interview with The New Yorker in which he mourned the current state of comedy, the entire media landscape went ablaze at the audacity of Seinfeld's comments.
Nothing really affects comedy. People always need it. They need it so badly, and they don't get it.
Predictably, the biggest criers on the issue have been those on the far left. Both small and big names alike have taken digs at Seinfeld for the audacity of having an opinion about his craft. Some have even gone so far as to wish failure on his upcoming family comedy. You know, because the worst thing for comedy right now is a movie about Pop-Tarts. Because they have such thin skins, most people in this camp expected Seinfeld to back off at the first sign of criticism. But as a decades-long comedian, his skin is as thick as it could be. Rather than lose his composure and get into yelling fights with these people, Seinfeld has played it cool as a cucumber. Rather, he uses his charms, his wit, and of course his brilliant sense of humor to rebuff them.
I do this joke about the way people need to justify their cell phone. I need to have it with me because people are so important. Right. You know, I said, well, they don't seem very important the way you scroll through them like a gay French king. You know, just... Well,
That's very offensive to the gay French king.
Well, I did this line recently in front of an audience, and comedy's where you can kind of feel like an opinion. And they thought, what do you mean gay? What are you talking about gay? What are you saying gay? What are you doing? What do you mean? You know? And I thought, are you kidding me? I mean, we can't even.
On social media hotbeds like X, formerly known as Twitter, the criticism of Seinfeld has been scorching hot. On Elon Musk's revamped free speech app, Seinfeld was attacked from every angle imaginable. Some claimed he was just being a reactionary and that his stance didn't hold water whatsoever. Others tried to discredit him by bringing up past controversies that he was involved in. X was far from the only platform that Seinfeld was getting the heat. Outlets such as Paste magazine wasted no time in piling on him to drive up engagement. In a hit piece published just one day after Seinfeld's interview with David Remnick, the outlet claimed that the only thing rich old white guys like him are good for is complaining about politics ruining comedy. Another popular tactic, which was quite surprising to observe, was that most people were trying to bring down Seinfeld by propping up Larry David. Larry, who is the co-creator of the Seinfeld sitcom, has had quite a similar career trajectory as his creative collaborator. Most people said Larry David was a far superior comedian who had just wrapped up a very successful show. Did they forget the part where Larry and Seinfeld have remained great friends to this day? And that Seinfeld himself has made many appearances in said sitcom. It seems these people didn't have any real critiques. They just wanted to attack Jerry Seinfeld and everything he stands for. Unfortunately for them, the man has incredible mental strength. It's hard to attack someone when they are literally one of the smartest comedians the industry has ever produced.
Marcus Aurelius says your only focus should be on getting better at what you're doing. Focus on what you're doing, get better at what you're doing. Everything else is a complete waste of time.
If there's one thing that has allowed Jerry Seinfeld to withstand cancel culture, it's his awareness of the techniques that his biggest critics use. Simply by posing as just another old rich white guy, people underestimate his intellect. But there's no way one can survive in this industry for so long and become that rich if they were a common simpleton. Instead, he maneuvers like a matador swinging a flag, and his critics fall for it like raging bulls.
Explain this, and it's never a good moment, A, when you're on television explaining a joke, and B, when the guy on CNN is asking you, well, that could have been on the cover of a Nazi magazine. You know, thanks a lot.
I know,
my
but
mother is watching this show.
Explain and defend is not apologize. Did you?
No, I didn't apologize.
Okay, have you ever done that?
Apologize?
Yeah.
No.
While Seinfeld could have handled all these low-quality critiques of his opinions all by himself, he sure wasn't alone in his fight. After being in the industry for so long, he has made some truly powerful friends who were quick to come to his defense. Seinfeld friends aside, hundreds of ordinary people simply felt the truth of his statement and came to his defense all over social media. What followed was a battle in Hollywood that had been brewing for years now.
Seinfeld didn't say anything wrong, and you're right, he is getting slammed for it online. All he said is we're so worried about offending people that it's taken a hit to comedy, and comedy is not as special as it used to be.
News outlets all around the world have shed light on Seinfeld's comments. While most of them have predictably been disparaging, a few have captured the matter in a light that is fair and accurate. Sky News Australia is one outlet that took the time to highlight the truth of Seinfeld's comments. They compared him to comedy legends like Dave Chappelle and Ricky Gervais, thick-skinned guys who don't give a damn about political correctness. News outlets aside, one of the most influential figures who came out to Seinfeld's defense is none other than the richest man in the world, Elon Musk. It's no surprise that Musk, who acquired social media giant Twitter in an attempt to save free speech, is perceptive enough to see the truth of Seinfeld's comments. The moment Seinfeld's interview started to go viral on the platform, Musk tweeted out in support of him with the caption, "Make comedy legal again." This gave the interview a whole lot of traction, drawing in yet more supporters and detractors. Author, filmmaker, and political commentator Dinesh D'Souza is yet another intellect who came out in favor of Seinfeld. He was quick to make a connection between Seinfeld's comments and various situations of political unrest happening all around the world. In D'Souza's words, there would be much more peace around the world if all these activists merely learned to laugh. Seinfeld's comments were echoed by other large accounts such as End Wokeness and Young America's Foundation. After that, it was only a matter of time before the discourse took over the entire internet. Seinfeld himself would have liked to sit back and watch the trash take itself out. But unfortunately for him, he had to make a very high-profile appearance at the premiere of his movie Unfrosted. No doubt some pesky activists were lying in wait in an attempt to derail the whole thing. But lucky for Jerry Seinfeld, some of his best friends were around to back him up.
Hey, Jay.
I'm so sick of these hard-hitting, controversial documentaries. Can't somebody just make a comedy anymore?
Jay Leno, one of the most recognizable faces in comedy history, was there. And as he has been friends with Seinfeld for about 40 years, he did not hesitate to come to his defense. In a smart and funny way, Leno made allusions to the ongoing debate while praising Seinfeld's movie for being an absolute hoot. Some had hoped it would be full of controversy, but unfortunately for them, Seinfeld made a funny family movie that doesn't serve as any sort of political background. Other famous comedians such as Melissa McCarthy, Amy Schumer, Hugh Grant, and Bill Burr, who all star in the movie, were around to offer their support to Seinfeld. Bill Burr, regarded as one of the smarter guys in the business, offered his opinion on the current state of comedy. According to him, too much executive oversight has destroyed comedy and turned it into content. As executives seek to push their products to the widest possible audiences, they water it down to its weakest possible state.
People just devour content, and we can only do a joke once. You don't want to hear it again, so it sort of forces us to kind of work at the pace people are watching stuff.
The battle for comedic freedom and creative agency is likely to go on for years. However, it's a huge comfort to know that heavyweights like Jerry Seinfeld aren't just going to sit back and let the medium they love be corrupted by woke culture. Is there any hope, though? Well, in Jerry Seinfeld's opinion, there is. In the same interview with David Remnick that started all of this, Seinfeld urged upcoming comics to be aware of the dangerous influence of wokeness within the comedy landscape, and to do their utmost to fight it. He encouraged them to make sure that anytime the gates were shifted, they weren't caught lacking. When asked point blank if he thinks wokeness in comedy is coming to an end, Seinfeld replied that he sees a movement starting against all that silliness. This echoes similar thoughts from Ricky Gervais, that people are free to joke about whatever the hell they want.
They move the gates, like in the scheme. Culture, the gates are moving. Your job is to be agile and clever enough that wherever they put the gates, I'm going to make the gate.
What's your opinion on this debate? Do you think Seinfeld has a point, or do you think he's yet another old man who's yelling at the clouds? Let us know your opinion in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe.